This is my 2006 Ford Mustang, and I'm here today to tell you guys 3 things you might not know about owning a Ford Mustang. Okay, hang on a sec. If this is your first time seeing this car, since this video it has been built into a full-blown race car. The entire build series is over on my channel, and if you haven't seen that yet, why don't you pause this video right now, hop over to the channel and check those videos out, and while you're there, you may as well hit the subscribe button. Okay, now that you're subscribed, let's get back to the video. Now this Mustang is the GT model, which means it's got the 4.6 liter V8 engine. It's what a lot of people call the 3-valve. A lot of people also say it's the best sounding V8. You guys be the judge of that. This should have been the first mod I did this car. Oh my god, that sounds sick. Now the first thing you might not know about owning a Ford Mustang, and don't come at me with the pitchforks for this one guys, but these cars are fast. I think I forget that because they made so many in the 4-cylinder and the V6 models, and those things sold like hotcakes. So I'm seeing Mustangs every day out and about, and I kind of forget that they're not just regular traffic. A lot of these cars are absolute rocket ships. This is by far the fastest car I've ever owned. Or at least it will be until my LS swap Datsun is done. It might just be that I grew up in the wrong generation. I grew up in the 90s and we had the Fox Buddy for a couple of years and then the SN95, and unless you got those in a really high trim package, they weren't that quick. Some of the really old Mustangs and a lot of the really new ones, those things I won't argue with you, they're super fast, but they made so many in this the 2000s generation, the SN95 through to the S197s that were just regular traffic. They're not fast, and it's really easy to forget just how quick these things are. This feels like a proper sports car. Now the second thing that really surprised me about owning a Ford Mustang is just how cheap and easy it is to get parts for this thing. I come from the world of Japanese cars. My previous drift car was an AE86, so finding parts for that thing was a nightmare. Everything was coming from overseas, from Japan, a lot of stuff you couldn't even get, and you just had to rebuild things yourself. So by comparison, getting performance parts for a Mustang, incredible. Everything is so affordable. The secondhand market is unbelievable, and it's just cheap to make these things fast. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, I actually just spent $10,000 on parts for this Mustang. I'm going to be doing a build series. This car is really nice, but I am turning this into a full-on race car. So if you guys want to check that out, make sure to like and subscribe. But if I spent that amount of money on one of my older Japanese cars, it's a lot of money, but I wouldn't get nearly as much performance as what I got buying parts for this car. It's incredible. I can't wait to build this thing. I think I've also gotten used to driving older vehicles that nothing is tight anymore. So driving this thing, shifting this thing, it drives so nice. The shifter is tight, the shifts are very notchy, it accelerates, it really puts you back in your seat. I've never had a car like that. I had a brand new Subaru STI at one point, and this thing, for being, what is it, almost 20 years old now, this thing blows it out of the water in terms of acceleration. Now the third thing that I didn't know about owning a Ford Mustang is actually how cheap it is. I just sold my AE86, and granted that's a very rare, very desirable car, but I could buy almost 3 of these for what I sold that Corolla for, and this is way more car. This thing's got like 3 times the horsepower, it's got air conditioning, it drives way better. Sure, it doesn't have that cool anime factor to it, but this is a way better performing car for the money. It is not even a close comparison. Especially if you buy one of the lower trim models, granted, you're kind of into the commuter car area, but those are super cheap cars. Even this car, it's the V8, it's got a manual transmission, it's rust-free, the paint's a little bit dinged up, but I was okay with that. But this car only cost me $8,000 Canadian, and this is so much car for the money. I really wanted to get into a high-performance car. I didn't want to spend a ton of money, and I was shopping around for all sorts of stuff. I was looking at the new Edges, the SN95s, I was shopping around for some 350Zs because you can get those, right around the $10,000 mark with a manual transmission, and they're a nice driving car. I was looking at some C5 Corvettes, but they're almost twice the price and very similar in terms of like horsepower and 0 to 60 and things like that. So to be able to get into a V8 manual car that does 13-second quarter mile times, to get all of that, for less than $10,000 is absolutely incredible in my opinion. The acceleration of these cars is absolutely crazy. Let's do a little first gear pull here. That's 80. That's 100. And barely even left third gear. It's absolutely mind-boggling how much performance you get out of this car. And I could buy almost 3 of these for the price of an old Corolla. That's unbelievable. And not only is it cheap to buy these cars, but it's cheap to maintain them too. Like, these V8 engines are really under stress, so they're supposed to last for quite a while. We'll see if that's true with the way I drive this thing. And all of the maintenance, like when I had to do brakes, my Corolla needed brake calipers, I had to just rebuild those because they don't make them anymore. Buying new calipers for this car, super easy. I can go into my local parts store and get them, and they're still pretty affordable. So not only is the cost of buying these cars cheap, but it's also super cheap to maintain them. And it is so nice having the creature comforts in a sports car. Like, I did a similar video to this in my Corolla, I did a similar video in my old F350. And I was uncomfortable. I wasn't super comfortable. I was sweating the entire time. I've got the AC on in here. I'm just cruising. It's such a nice car to drive. It almost makes me sad to cut this thing up and turn it into a race car.